Retro Bowl has seen a ton of new growth and engagement ever since its release of Retro Bowl College about a month ago, and today I want to have a discussion around some new features and improvements that the game should add to continue to maintain this level of excitement throughout the college football season. Now, if you guys haven't seen my video I made a few months ago called The State of Retro Bowl, it basically covers the cyclical nature of the interest of Retro Bowl throughout the football season. And while there's been a ton of support on that video and I really appreciate that, there has been a couple comments I've noticed. The first one being that people think that making additions to the game itself is going to take away from any sort of casual player base. The idea of adding new features or improving on existing ones seems to make people think that the casual player base is going to be disinterested, but that couldn't be further from the truth in my opinion. I think that just because you're adding features or improving existing ones, it doesn't make the game more complicated, it just makes the game better as a whole. I also think you need to give the casual player base a little bit more credit. They can handle a little bit more nuance. Another comment I saw a couple times was, it's not that serious, it's just a phone game, it doesn't need a whole documentary. And for that, I mainly just say this entire channel is based around Retro Bowl and making the game better. So I'm not going to apologize for my passion around this subject. It is what it is. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Be sure to join the Discord down below so you guys can be involved in future videos I make. You also get to talk about football with me and about 300 other people, share your terrible fantasy football performances, make outlandish upset calls, and share all of your amazing highlights on Retro Bowl that are probably done on Dynamic. And lastly, I'm going to be doing a new shipment order for my crew neck, so if you guys are interested in the I'm Grego crew neck, check out one of the channels for information on that. The very first addition that Retro Bowl College needs to add is in-season recruiting. If you think back to some of the best college football games, a lot of the excitement and anticipation was always based around trying to sign those recruits and battle it out between different colleges. Now, in a previous video I made, I covered a lot of additions I wanted the base Retro Bowl game to add, and the number one feature was in-season scouting. Now, this is going to cover both games, but I don't know why New Star Games hasn't caught on to the fact you need to be able to see the incoming freshmen before it's actually time to sign them, and you need to be able to see the rookies ahead of time before it's actually time for the draft. Because the team building decisions you make as far as letting players declare for the draft early and signing free agents is going to matter a ton based on what the incoming talent is going to be. For instance, if you know that the upcoming recruiting class is going to be really weak at quarterback, I would not let your junior quarterback declare for the draft. But if I saw a ton of young freshmen with a lot of talent at that position, I would be more inclined to let them walk. And as important as it is for real teams to be able to plan ahead in order to improve their ability to team build, it's completely missing in Retro Bowl. And while I understand it might be too complicated to add an entire recruiting section where you're battling it out with different teams, trying to gain the attention of different prospects, that's okay. Just give us the ability at the mid-season point to just see the incoming freshmen ahead of time, maybe scout a few of them, and then we'll go back to the regular season until it's actually time to sign them. Just that one sneak peek makes a huge difference when it comes to actually making decisions for your team's future. And again, the same exact thing goes for regular Retro Bowl too. Let us see the incoming draft class at least once, and then maybe at the end of the year, let us scout a few players before we actually have to sign our free agents. I think this is extremely important, and I do not think it'd be that hard to implement. All right, the next feature I think Retro Bowl College needs to add is the transfer portal. The transfer portal has become so important for contending colleges to add proven talent over the past decade or two. It truly is like the free agency of college football. I think a great way to add the transfer portal without overcomplicating the game itself would just be to do it through the dilemmas. I love the new emphasis that Retro Bowl College has on the dilemmas, having multiple dilemmas per week, having more serious dilemmas to where if you don't have the coaching credits, you might have to cut players. I want more risk and reward, and I think for the transfer portal, it could be implemented like this. Towards the end of the season, you're prompted with a dilemma, and again, this will be rare for both incoming transfers and also your players potentially leaving. You're prompted with a dilemma that says, hey, your running back Mike Jones has been extremely productive, but he's considering transferring. And with this dilemma, you're presented two options. Either spend like 5 coaching credits to guarantee he stays, or you get a little bit risky and you guarantee a win for the next upcoming matchup. However, if you do lose that game, you will lose the player, so there's a little bit of a risk reward. If you don't have the coaching credits, you still have a chance to bring him back, but you gotta play well. And I think the same thing can be said about incoming transfers. Maybe you're the head coach of a small program and a receiver from a big program wants to join your team because he's not getting enough touches on his team. Either pay 5 coaching credits to guarantee he transfers on the spot, or guarantee a win in your next matchup. If you win, he'll be transferred to your team after that game and he'll sit on your bench until the next season. I like this concept because you can actually spend coaching credits to guarantee they join, but if you don't have the coaching credits, it's not the end of the world because you can still guarantee wins. Hopefully you perform in the next week and then you can sign them anyway. It makes the week-to-week games actually have a little bit more life and immersion. Beyond just playing for wins and losses, you're actually playing for something that's a little bit more important for the future. Again, these dilemmas would be very rare, maybe once every other season, and while this is a bit of a bare bones approach to the transfer portal, it's currently miles better than what they currently have for in-season player acquisition. Now moving on to the next topic, this next feature is going to be something that is absolutely crucial for trying to ensure realistic gameplay for future seasons. Currently, Retro Bowl College is set up very realistically for what the current day NCAA landscape looks like. However, in just 1 year's time, a lot is going to change. With college football's playoff and team landscape completely changing next year, I need to be able to see a 4, 8, and 12 team playoff toggle in the options menu. This is going to be so important to add realism moving forward because currently we have a 4-team playoff, and while it's realistic now, it won't be soon. And with that being said, teams like Texas joining the SEC and Oregon joining the Big Ten, we need the ability in the team editor to not just erase Texas from the Big 12 and replace an SEC team and name it Texas. We need the ability to actually move and add and subtract teams from certain conferences. In the future, some conferences might end up dissolving as a whole or just becoming a lot smaller, while other conferences like the Big Ten and the SEC are going to gain a ton more teams. I don't want to have to remove teams in order to add others. Give us the ability when we're editing the team color and the team name to actually change the conference that they're located in and just add that team to the existing conference. I'm sure it'll be complicated on the development side of things, considering you're going to have to deal with maintaining schedules and trying to make sure accurate games are being played, but this is going to be a must moving forward. And while we're on the topic of scheduling, I want to be able to choose my own schedule for each season. If you guys have played with a program for more than a couple seasons, the schedule can be extremely monotonous. You basically play every single team in your conference and then a couple random FCS teams. There are no in-state rivalries, there are no historic rivalries. We need to have those implemented alongside of being able to choose our non-conference matchups. If I want to make a cupcake schedule, I want to be able to do so. If I want to play a ton of ranked proven opponents, I want to be able to do so. Just show us the team menu at the beginning of every season and allow us to select our 4 non-conference matchups. So then we can add in rivalry matchups ourselves and choose other teams we want to play. And for quality of life purposes, please add the ability to copy and paste colors or make our own color wheel, or even just hear me out, do what Hoopland does and give us the ability to import our own Dropbox files of our league. So if I go through the trouble of typing in every single team, every single color, and every single bowl game, I want to be able to take my league, create a link, allow you to import it, and now you've got it without having to type in everything. I feel like this would add so much more of a community aspect to the game, but if you're not going to do that, at least give us the ability to copy and paste. If you guys have used my Retro Bowl College Realism Guide, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, check this video out, it'll make sense. All of the features I've covered so far in this video mainly pertain to team building, scheduling, and player acquisition, but the last feature I want to talk about kind of encompasses everything, and I know this feature will be added eventually, but we need it now. Give us the ability to simulate games. Now, we've been kind of spoiled recently because Retro Bowl for the longest time didn't have this feature at all, but once we had it, we can't really go without it, and I would argue it's even more important in a college game where you're trying to take a program and move it from worst to first. I don't want to have to play every single game. I want to be able to simulate through seasons, bring in new recruits, watch them develop, declare for the draft, and do the process while we slowly maintain a higher baseline, but I don't want to have to play every game. Yes, the draft is important in the regular NFL landscape, but at most you only have 4 years with these players in college. Again, I know this feature will be added, but do it sooner rather than later. Now, I actually have a ton more suggestions covering new features as a whole and a lot of cosmetic updates, but I'm going to save those for a later video, so if you guys are interested in that one, please be sure to comment down below. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed, and again, comment if you want to see more features that could be added to the game. As for me, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.